Hey babes, welcome to Your Mom's Best Friends podcast, where we come together as a tribe and share the good, the bad, and the what in the actual fuck moments of motherhood, all while building our dream life. I'm your host, Brandy Ververs, mama to two littles, Army veteran, and business enthusiast. I'm obsessed with empowering mamas to live their life with their babies in tow while also building their dreams. If you're ready for a good laugh or to get inspired, grab your cup of coffee because you're in the right place.
Are you guys ready for the juiciest, most rawest episode I have ever recorded? Get ready because today I interviewed my bestie, Nicole. She is a real estate investor in North Carolina. She is partnered with a network marketing company, and she is a new mama to a beautiful baby boy, Cash. And let me just tell you, we got real. She has been through the thick of it these last 6, 7 months now. And I had to interview her because it is just so fresh in her mind. And I feel like, after a couple months of motherhood, like once you get to that like 8, 9 to a year mark, you're like, okay, I can breathe. And you start to forget all of the things. It's like almost we black out during those months. And it's so fresh in her mind. Not only did I want to give her the opportunity to share her story and relate with some of you, but also so she could have this as a memory, because motherhood is absolutely fucking wild and we're all out here just trying to figure it the fuck out. And sometimes we need that reminder of that moment where we were just trying to figure it the fuck out. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the episode. What is up, you guys? All right, so this episode, if you have watched my stories at all, is I feel like going to be one of the juiciest ones because this is my bestie Nicole. I literally know her in and out at this point.
Yep.
She has a 6 month old now. And so literally from the moment she got pregnant to now has been a absolute journey. And like I said, it's so fresh in her mind right now that I can't wait to dive into it because, I mean, for me, right, it's been 4 years. But for
Yeah.
you, it's like, damn, I literally feel like I just got out of this yesterday. So tell them a little bit about the very beginning, like trying to get pregnant.
So basically, for me, I feel like for the longest time, I thought that I could not have kids, and it's just because me and Jordan have been together. My husband have been together for 10 years, pretty much, and there was just no precautions, okay, for 10 years. And it came to a point where I was just like, I really don't think I can have kids because I don't think that, like what is up. But then all of a sudden, like, we started to be more intentional with trying. It was kind of more of like, we're not going to leave it up to chance. We're actually going to be intentional and start like trying because it was a good time um in our lives. And then it's just, I don't know, it just happened. When it did happen, I will tell you, for the longest time playing that narrative of like, I don't think I can have kids. And then when I found out I was pregnant, the wave of freaking emotions, like it was panic, grief immediately, which I didn't expect. I thought it was going to be pure excitement. And it was, when I saw the test, I was like, oh my gosh, like so excited. But then it quickly turned to like panic and grief. It was like, you're not ever going to be alone again. Like, this is real. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about grief that comes with it because you immediately know that it's never going to be just you again. Never just you and your partner.
100%.
Me and Jordan enjoyed 10 years together, just
Yeah.
us and Ted, our
Yeah.
dog. But like it was panic. It was like, "What is this gonna look like? Is it gonna be hard for us? Are we gonna make it through it?" You just automatically are just like, "Now I'm worried about another life for the rest of my life, and it starts now." Because from that moment that you see that positive test, you're never the same.
Yeah. And
And
I
so,
feel
like
like you said that like a lot of people don't talk about that, but really like not only do you lose yourself as a person, like that individuality, but like also as a couple because same
yeah.
situation, Rob and I, we were together for I don't know, but like a long time before then. Like that was years where it was just us and it was great, right? But then it's like you expect to be all excited, but in reality, it's like nobody talks about that morning transition of your individuality, which I think that could be like a whole different episode. But
Yeah, it is serious, like, it is real, the grief is real, and I would love to talk about that further at another time, but it's just, like, women, they feel guilty about that also, and I feel like there should not be guilt about how you take in this news because, yes, a baby is a blessing, a positive pregnancy test is amazing, it's incredible, there's nothing that goes there's nothing to talk that down, it's just you are still allowed to be excited and terrified and, like, grieving in the same space. I feel like a lot of people make you feel like it can only be one or the other, or the minute you try to voice, like, "Well, I'm kinda nervous because it's not just gonna be me again," people are like, "Well, it's a blessing, you should be grateful, you should be this." Everything you should be, but what about what you are, you know? Like,
yeah, that's so true.
um and so yeah, that was a huge process for me in the beginning, and then it quickly turned to, like, excitement and prep, but
Right.
it took a
Yeah,
minute.
for sure, and
Definitely.
rightfully so, right? So, okay, so you found out you were pregnant, you mourned, you got excited, and then the morning sickness happened. How was that?
Yeah.
How was like your first trimester?
My first trimester was honestly I was really tired, in the beginning, and then week 7 and 8, I was throwing up every day, feeling so nauseous, it was terrible. Then after that, honestly, it was a breeze. I would say that pregnancy, like even the whole thing, like first trimester was whatever. One thing I will say that I wasn't prepared for is I had major headaches. I don't ever get migraines, I don't ever get headaches, but one of my biggest pregnancy symptoms was headaches. Um so I was still getting that a lot. Once I started my prenatals more consistently, that started to fade away. I'm guessing it was probably a vitamin deficiency or something, but um then the rest of my pregnancy was a breeze. Even at the end, I was yes uncomfortable, but I was even like scared of birth where I was like you can stay in there. We're at week 40, but you can stay in there another week or two. Like it's fine. So yeah, honestly it wasn't bad. Like it
Yeah.
really wasn't.
Yeah, and I still think about that to this day. I think it happens with every child because pregnancy in general is just so wild, and then to actually birth a human is absolutely wild, right? Like so
Yeah,
many things could go wrong, and I feel like even to this day, like when I think about having another one, I'm like I could fucking die. Like this is fucking scary, right?
it's
And so it's just like that fear of actually having to like birth something and bring it earthside is it's wild.
It is so wild, especially how my birth went this time.
Okay, so let's talk
Um,
about that. So you had a great pregnancy, nothing major, right? But then came the birth.
yeah, so I would say that my birth, I feel like, was not a normal situation in the sense of like, just for what it is. Okay, so like week 38 of my pregnancy, feeling good, everything's great. And then the doctors here, they just started to push me towards induction. I didn't want to do that. I'm more on the natural, holistic side of things, or at least I try to be when I can. And so when they were pushing that, I was like, no, I want to go to week 40. And then they get ruthless out here these days. I don't know if any other women can relate, but they constantly were saying like, okay, well then let's hope that your baby is moving the next time you come in. Or, I let's hope that you don't have a dead baby, straight up saying that to me. And my doctor was like, you will never forgive yourself if you come in here the next time and he's not moving. And so they started to say these things to where I was like, whatever, how dare you say that? Okay, for the first week to almost 2 weeks. But then, as you get closer, the more frequent your appointments are. And so it's like, I'm hearing this every other day at 40 weeks. It was like, they wanted me to do NST testing. They wanted me to do all of these things. And it was just every day hearing them say these negative things about my body, my son, my birth. And it just became too much. Like, me and my husband, we weren't sleeping. I was stressed every time he wasn't moving for a while. So there, it came to a point where 41 weeks and 3 days, I gave in and was like, I'll do an induction. Because my parents also came down, so I felt a little bit level of comfort. Um, and so I did it with my body not really having any signs that labor was near. Um, and I knew right away going into that induction, I was like, this is going to end in a C section because my body's not ready. And I know that's just what's going to happen. And so my birth ended exactly that way. I elected for a C section before it became a super emergency. I had been on Pitocin for way too long. And it was just wild. And there were so many things during my birth that it was just like, this shouldn't be happening. Like, my catheter, they didn't tape to my leg, so that was moving all around. My bladder was almost ruptured because they weren't emptying the bag. Like, there was just so much in it where I was like, not, I was out of body. Like, I wasn't even paying attention anymore. And then when I birthed Cash, like, just after having such a long labor, I think it was 24 hours of labor, 25 hours, and then going into a C-section, I was just like, just dead inside. Like, there was just nothing. And then when he came out, though, he cried. And so that was like, I'm like, okay. And I'm like, just hopefully I don't die right here, though. Like, um, and yeah, it was just a very traumatic experience for anyone that's had a C-section. Just, that the feeling. And it just was a lot. It was a lot to get through. And then I feel like just because you didn't have that natural birth, there is this weird, like, they take the baby out of you and then they just like give you this baby. There is a little bit of a disconnection. Um
Interesting.
yeah, like, it's just because the skin to skin and the immediate contact was with Jordan, not with me, because they're stitching
Mm,
me back up.
mm,
So there was definitely just like, what the F is going on moment. And you're so out of it from like the drugs, the labor, the exhaustion, that I just remember holding him and they were trying to like teach me how to breastfeed him, and I was just like half falling asleep. Like, I wasn't there. And it's just not, that's not how you picture birthing your first child. Like,
yeah.
it's just not. And I don't want to share this to scare anybody, because I know my situation was just so different. It was just, I don't want to say so different. People have had the same situation, but it's just not the norm. It's not. You're gonna be fine if you're pregnant and you're listening to this. You're gonna be fine. But it was just a wild thing, and I think that that's what led me into my never-ending mental breakdown for the past 6 months. No, I'm kidding. But
I mean, you have been in it. Like the voice
yeah,
memos that were sent every single morning, I was like, I need to come save her. Like there, like it just sounded like you were drowning. And so, okay, so you had this like not expectant birth, right? Like you're holistic. You wanted to do like try a natural birth. Like you like everybody knows that like your first birth it usually goes over 40 and like doctors know that. And so for them to like
yeah,
one not empower you to be like everything is fine, like you got this and just be like rude basically and kind of pressure you into that because that's just they wanted to hurry up and get it done with it sounds like. And so
yeah.
for them to kind of just not create this ideal situation and kind of put you in that like negative mental headspace to begin with, like what the fuck, right? And so
No, literally, like, this exactly what you said, this entire experience has made me want to do exactly that, or something around it where you empower women through birth, because I was not. I was not empowered in any way, shape, or form. The amount of forms I had to sign just because I was neglecting their advice and like that make you feel like you're doing something wrong for just trying to trust your body through this, like something that's super natural. And I had a healthy pregnancy. I had everything that was totally fine. It's not like I had something dire. So, yeah, like the way that you just worded that, I'm like, yes, like they should have been empowering everyone, every woman there, because I'm probably not the only one they say these things to if they're doing this at a practice, but like birth should be empowering. It just should.
Yeah, it should be beautiful. It should be natural. It should be empowering, right? And it sounds like they kind of just forced you into a situation that your body wasn't ready for. And of course, like if you're not contracting and you're not doing those natural things, like how is the baby supposed to come out other way, like other than taking it out, right? And
Yeah,
then so I'm sure, like you said, like you kind of feel robbed, right, of that
yeah.
like once in a lifetime opportunity. And so after birthing Cash and now you're home, like how has the sleeping been? How has the feeding been? How has the mental health been? Kind of like where are you at like after you gave birth?
So after I gave birth, I pretty much cried every single day, but I honestly I think that that's just from friends expressing that with you guys, expressing um just with friends in general. I do think your hormones are everywhere, so for the first couple months, like the crying is so normal. I do think a lot of crying was like the trauma. I was in so much pain from a C-section. I couldn't lift, I couldn't drive, things like that. When it came to feeding, I was very, very blessed that I had an amazing night nurse after my surgery, that she taught me how to breastfeed so effectively. Like he latched right away and had no issues breastfeeding. So feeding, totally fine. Sleeping, he was sleeping through the night after like 1 month. He was sleeping pretty much 6 hour stretches, which I know you're supposed to wake up and pump. I was not doing that. I was just winging it, honestly, because of just everything that I was, we only could do so much. But like I was sleeping. I was taking advantage of it and I was sleeping the 6 hours. And he was doing that probably up until 4 months and then sleep went crazy bananas. And now we just hope for a 4 hour sleep at this point, which is fine. You start to learn to function on little to no sleep. But now that he's here, I would say like the first one thing I'm grateful for too is that even though my experience wasn't what I wanted, it made me 1000% times stronger. I do think that it made me and his bond stronger in a way also. I've actually talked with other moms about this a little bit where they feel like their stronger bonds have been with C-section babies sometimes because it is a traumatic event. It is for the baby as well. When they're just being like not naturally pushed through, they're being ripped out essentially. And so we trauma bond. No, I'm kidding, but like it's literally like a different type of bond. So I'm very grateful. Like I had no negative feelings towards Cash, towards anything, which was amazing. Because I know some moms that does happen. You can't control how you're gonna feel after certain situations. That you've never been through. Like your reaction is pretty much just what it is. And so I was very grateful for that. Month one, I had so much help. My parents were here. Jordan was doing everything. And it was just it wasn't bad. It's definitely a blur. But once I got to like the 3.5 month mark, that's where we start like remembering. That's where we start
Yeah.
like being able to look up and we're like, okay, we're not in the thick of it. We can move our body, like we can drive a car. And yeah, just like that's where it all came together.
Okay. So now obviously I had both of my children vaginal, right? And so I know nothing about the recovery of a C-section. Did you like, so for me, like I bled for like 6 weeks after. It was like I had a 6 week long period. Did you have that?
Yeah, so when you actually have a C-section, you bleed the same way as if you were to birth naturally.
Interesting.
Sometimes it can be lighter. For every person's different.
Yeah.
Every person's different for all of that. So for me, I bled for 5 weeks. It lightened up, it went away, and then I got my period immediately. So I got my
Oh, yeah,
period
that's
after
right.
6 weeks. Yeah. Which isn't also normal. It's total person dependent. So like
Yeah.
It depends. But yeah, like you have, I think because the labor was so long too, my body was just so exhausted. One thing that's crazy about having a C-section is the swelling in your legs is ridiculous. So my legs looked like Shrek's legs and they looked like that for a good week. Doing like, using compression socks, lifting them, that was huge. After surgery, it's really good to get lymphatic drainage. Now I know that. So if
Mhm.
that ever happened again in the future, like I would 100% recommend doing that after, because just the amount of inflammation the body holds on to
Mm.
after all of the like IVs and medicine and everything. But the recovery was no joke. It was so painful.
Like the
Like
desensitizing, all of it.
yeah, no feeling where my scar was. The It's like this weird singeing nerve pain almost, but what's crazy now, it's like 7 months later, um, like not having those types of issues. So it really does get better, but for a while I was like, this is gonna be I couldn't wear like bands of pants in that area probably until like a month ago. So it's just wild the difference. But women, like we are resilient and we're so crazy because now like I've been, texting you and I'm like, I could do this again. I could
Yeah,
do this again.
yeah,
It's totally fine now that
yeah.
we got out of the thick of it, but it's just wild the recovery. Um
Now,
oh my
would you say that, like, because you had a C-section, that made you like you had a C-section, right? So you had that scarring, so you couldn't get dressed, right?
yeah.
And you were in the thick of it for so long and you were trying to like balance all of these emotions along with like trying to keep a newborn alive. Do you think that like all of that chaos kind of also played into you not wanting to get ready and,
Oh
kind of
yeah.
just stay confined to your house and, kind of just like morning, night type of routine. Like, we're just going to hang out here and buckle down and ride the wave.
Yeah, no, there was no way I wanted to get ready because I couldn't wear a lot of things. Like I was in like hospital nightgowns at home, I guess you would say, or like really big oversized t-shirts for the first like 2 months because any band on your incision, it's just so uncomfortable, even on the areas around it because it's so like that singeing nerve pain. So I did not want to ever get ready. I think the only time I got ready during that time period was for our newborn photos, and even then it was so hard to like get dressed and figure out what to wear and just like be alive. um and I do have to say though, I think that the way that I had my C-section is why I was feeling those ways. I wasn't like I in the back of my head, I'm like, I knew this would end this way, but like I almost wish that I did a planned C-section if I knew it was gonna end that way instead of putting myself through all of the trauma and the hope and the like
The roller
maybe
coaster of emotions. Yeah.
and I do think that played into me not wanting to get ready. Like I kind of was just being like, whatever, whatever. Like I don't care. Because when you get ready, you feel better about yourself. It just is what it is. And I wasn't even putting that effort in because I felt so horrible. Um, Granted, none of my horrible feelings was towards Cash, which is like the best that I could have asked for. I was just being mean to myself in various different ways. And not getting ready was one of them. But I think probably I just like 5 months, 6 months is when I just was like, okay, now I can like start getting ready and like feeling normal because clothes feel more comfortable on my body. Just like pants specifically because like how are you gonna get ready all the time if you can't wear pants?
Yeah.
Or if it hurts to wear pants? Like,
And it's winter. It's winter. So it's not like you can throw on like a maxi dress.
yeah, like I can't or even biker shorts or anything. Like we're struggling out here because I would live in biker shorts if I could.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So
yes,
let's switch over into we're talking about getting dressed, right? And getting ready. The struggle of the mom bod after
oh,
pregnancy. Like you're like, "Oh, like everything's cute. Like I have this bump. Like I don't have to like I don't want to say like suck in, right? But like you just let it hang out,
yeah,
right? It's beautiful. Baby, you're just fluffy."
yeah,
And I feel like nobody talks about like how it's okay to be like, "Damn, like this is my body currently, right? Like it's not forever.
yeah,
Nothing is forever." But trying to wrap your mind around, I have this new body. Now, how the hell do I dress it? Right? Like, I'm not going to go back to wearing my pregnancy clothes because, like, I've tried that. And the pregnancy waistband on some of the pants, like, after you're not pregnant, they just don't fit right.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to go back to wearing crop tops like you were before you were pregnant. Right. So it's like, what do I wear?
No, the mom bod was real, especially having like a new scar. And I was just like, I had an issue with that. Like looking at that. And that's going to be there forever kind of thing. I think what's crazy too is I had post delivery stretch marks, which I didn't even know were a thing. Cuz I didn't have major stretch marks on my stomach. I had a couple, which I was fine with. When I was like literally 41 weeks. I have pictures of it, and then after birthing him, I was like, where did all these stretch marks come from? Like, I'm so confused. Apparently it's a thing. It's usually genetic, whatever. Um, so I was like totally devastated about that. Cause I was like, I thought I did a good job avoiding stretch marks. Yeah, here they are. So no. Then with a C-section, a lot of times where the scar is, you can sometimes have like what they call like a shelf, because the incision itself is so tight. Like weirdly, if you ever felt someone's C-section scar, which I'm sure you're probably not going to, but it's a tight band. It feels like a rubber band on their skin.
I'm
It is.
totally going to feel yours when I see you.
Yeah, you should, because I massage mine, so it's a little bit looser. What you're supposed to do, like, come 4 weeks, not even. I think sooner than that. There's like desensitizing things that you can do to your scar, and then there's massaging that will take place. I think 4 weeks in, and it's really important because the scar tissue literally bands to that area. And so you have this tight scar. And a lot of times that will lead to like a shelf, a C shelf is what they call it in like the C-section world. And I thankfully don't have that. It's kind of like an overhang over your scar, but it's a real thing, and I was worried about it at first, but like massaging and going to pelvic floor therapy, all of those things really do help that. They teach you different ways that you can like take care of it, so that you have more mobility in that area. But like between the stretch marks and that, I just was like, this is horrible. Plus my belly button, I have diastasis
The
recti as
belly
well.
button. Oh my
Yeah.
god. We have Okay, when you're done, we have to talk about a belly button.
Dude, the belly button grosses me out. I was grossed out during pregnancy too. Like I don't like the inside out. And then having diastasis recti, which is basically like my abdomen split. And every person when they're pregnant has that. I don't think it's called the same thing, but it's a form of it where it's just a little bit. But if you have more than a 2 finger separation in your abs where the baby was, like your belly area, you will have diastasis recti. I'm no professional here. I'm just telling you what the doctors tell me or whatever. So I had diastasis recti too. So when everyone says, "Oh, you're going to slim down, breastfeeding, you're going to slim down," I was not slimming down. I still looked pregnant. I still looked fully pregnant 3 months in, 4 months in. Even now, I still have like that pregnancy or that round belly, and it has to do with healing that diastasis recti. I think I had a almost 4 finger separation. Now it's down to like a 2.5, which is good, but it's a lot of breathing exercises and things. But like that alone, you're just like, I don't want to ever get ready. You have a hard time accepting the mom bod. So those three things mentally, I do the same thing as you though, where you're like, it's not forever. Like in my head, I'm like, this is not forever, this is not forever, but boy does it suck right now. Like it was hard. For stretch marks, I did look up laser, and so I've been getting laser for them, and I'm so happy I did. If no one's ever learned about laser with stretch marks with pregnancy, like it is so good for your skin, collagen production, blood flow, breaking up the like scab essentially that's under your skin. Um and it has changed everything. I will say, for the way that my stomach looks, the way that it feels, and then the like you can hardly see my stretch marks now that I've done like 4 sessions. So that is something that I did do, embracing my mom bod, but in a different way. Like if you can do something about it, you have the means to do something about it, do something about it. Like
100%.
I'm so happy I did that. So that dealing with the diastasis and then the scar. I'm like, whatever I can do to fix these things or help these things as much as I can, that's what I'm gonna do. And now even still struggling, it like getting dressed is a struggle in the sense of like knowing what your style is as a mom. And then during all of these phases of where your body is changing. And a lot of people will tell you, oh, breastfeed, you'll lose the weight immediately. That's not always the case if you're not eating enough, which is me. We've talked
Mm,
about this where we've
mm,
had terrible eating habits where you like eat like twice a day. You don't prioritize eating. That was me before. That's still been me in mom life, okay? And so when your body is in a constant state of starvation, it's not going to let you lose the weight. It's holding on to it um to use it for fuel,
yeah.
essentially. Like
Yeah.
so whenever people tell you you'll lose a lot of weight breastfeeding, like it's not always the case.
I did not.
And yeah, and that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
and I thankfully knew that before going in. I was still hopeful. I'm like, maybe breastfeeding, exclusively breastfeeding, it will work. Like, no, nothing. I have one thing that's funny is I have been the same exact weight since birthing Cash. Same exact weight. It
Mm,
has not gone up or down a pound.
yep.
And it's
Yep.
been 7 months, essentially. So crazy.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I think that for me, so after, especially after birthing both the kids, I was like so determined to get my body back, right? Which we all know that like sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. But I started to be on like this health kick journey. And so I was working out as soon as I got cleared, you know. One
Mm,
thing that I don't really talk about a lot is that like after having Lil, I felt like I had this like identity crisis to where I even took out my nose ring. I was like, moms don't wear nose rings. Like, I felt like I had to look a certain way because I was now a mom. And over my years of motherhood, now I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, moms
yeah,
show up however they want to, you know, like your kids are fed, your kids are clothed, you know, you love them, they love you. Like, those are like the things that you have to worry about. Like, you don't have to worry about the like how you look as a mom, right? Like don't get
yeah,
me wrong, I'm not going to go like walking down the streets in nipple stickers, but like also like it's fine, right? Like wearing a nose ring, wearing, you know, dressing like you're still like a 90s baby, right? Like that's fine. You don't have
yeah,
to immediately wear like jeans, sneakers and like a baggy sweater type mom vibe, right? But I mean, it's all what makes you feel comfortable. It's what makes you feel like a damn woman again, right?
no,
Because
no, definitely.
you're trying to like embrace this new identity, and we're like I said, like all the time, like we're all just out here trying to figure it the fuck out, right? There's
Yeah,
no right or wrong way. And so real quick, let's jump back to the belly button because that is like still one thing like that I struggle with. I hate my fucking belly button. And so like everything is high waisted. And for me, I had like before babies, I had like a really deep belly button.
mhm,
like it was like a black hole, okay? Like it was so deep.
I'm
And
dead. I'm
after like
dead.
pregnant, right? I had the biggest outie. I should actually post a picture. Like that should be like this cover
A
photo is
before
like my
and
big ass
after.
outie.
Yeah.
Like it was so big. And then like now after done having kids, like you can see the bottom of it. It's not a bottomless pit anymore. And it's so saggy. Like just the skin around my belly button is so saggy and it irks the shit out of me, but there's nothing I can do about it. That's just like my little treasure for popping out two babies. And so like what was your story about your belly button? I know you said it grossed you out, but
God,
like what?
it just grosses me out because it just went inside out. Like, I had, like, a innie, right? Ish. I don't even know. I don't remember my old belly button because it's just not there anymore. But, like, it just reversed out. It popped out quick, like, I think when I was pregnant, and I was just like, "This is so gross." What also grossed me out is when you would touch it, if you would rub your finger on it or anything, it was so sensitive, it hurt. So after having Cash, my belly button was still out like that. Even when his little feet would brush against it, I was like, "Oh my god," like, the pain, it hurt. Um And then now it's just confused. I think it's like it wants to go in, but it also wants to go out. And because of my diastasis recti, it really just depends. If I'm flexing, we have an innie. If I'm not, it's an outie. And we're just gonna see where this journey takes us because I just don't know. I don't know about sagging skin around it either. I think that once I lose weight and really get into, transforming my body, because I really haven't put much effort into it. Besides breathing exercises, I've worked out maybe once or twice every other week. I haven't, we've just been in the thick of it. But that probably might be a thing as well, except for my laser technician did tell me that that helps. So, like, prevent.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you, now that you say that, I was going to be like, well, have you looked at laser for that? Because
I've gone to
it could
laser
be a
hair
thing.
removal and tattoo removal, but they don't do like body stuff. So that's
You
gonna
should
have to
look.
be something that I like look into.
Yeah, if you have good blood flow to that area, definitely look into it because I've seen some crazy before and afters when you're sitting there in the chair. It's like they put all their before and afters cycling on the thing. Um, so you never know. If it's something that you would want to look into, I'm sure that there's something, or they'll be honest with you, like they'll tell you what's up. But he was telling me that doing laser now prevents that because of the collagen and whatever to that area. Like it really just helps with texture.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, well, we'll see, because I still look pregnant right now, so ish. I look like I'm 2 months pregnant. It's
Yeah.
going down. We were at like 6 months, and then it was like 4 months. Now we're a 2 monther.
Yeah. And
So
then you're gonna get like your body back and you're gonna be like, let's have another one. And it's just gonna start a vicious cycle all over again.
me and Jordan already talk about it. I'm like, I could do this again.
Yeah.
And then we like joke about having another one. I'm just like, if I do this, we're gonna do this back to back. We're not going to. I don't want to wait because I don't want the mental torture of getting your body back and then being like, all right, here we go.
Yep.
How's it gonna be this
Yep,
time?
exactly. That's kind of like that's where I'm at now because I'm like I'm good. I'm good. Like I got my boobs done after Chuck. Like I'm good because I thought we were like done. But now that he's like easier, like for some reason
Yeah,
like Lil, it was like after 2, like I was like, "Oh, yeah, she's fine. She's perfect. I could do another one." But like him, it took like 4 years. And so
yeah.
like now I'm like maybe we could do another one, but like
I
damn,
mean, you
like I'm going to
do
like, I'm
it.
gonna what if I have to get my boobs done again? Like, like all of this crazy stuff. Okay, so you didn't think you could get pregnant. You went through pregnancy, had a very easy pregnancy,
Yeah, so
kind of
easy.
got traumatized by birth, but went through the thick of it for like the last 6 months, but now you're here. What are some things that like either you would do differently or that like you would say to a mom who is 38, 40 weeks pregnant now and to like kind of advocate for herself?
Oof. I guess to advocate for herself would always be to like really just don't listen to anybody else but yourself. Like this is so hard with a lot of things because you feel like, a doctor is an expert and you are not an expert in what they're an expert in, right? But you are also an expert in your body and how you're feeling. And if you are having a very healthy pregnancy, your baby is moving, you have no issues, but they're going to try to convince you that there's issues, that's when I would say you got to trust yourself. Granted, if they're saying that something's actually wrong and you're feeling differences within your body, okay, cool. Maybe, gear into that a little bit. But like, if nothing has changed and one day you woke up and you go to a doctor's appointment and they're telling you that everything has changed, you gotta just trust yourself. And I think it's hard because, with a lot of new moms, you're sitting there like, well, I've never been a mom before. How am I supposed to trust myself? Like, I don't know. I don't know. A lot of women go into this like so fear driven because they don't know and they want to do what's best for their baby instinctually. That's just how we're wired. But a lot of times you're putting that trust in someone else's hands who doesn't care for that baby the way that you do. Nobody is going to care. And that gets proven once your child is here, because it's literally like, would you leave your child in the possession of that doctor? Would you trust them, or would there be a little thing inside of you saying they're never going to care for them as much as I care for them? They're never going to pay attention as much as I'll pay attention to them. Because that right there, like, I know it's hard before you have a baby to kind of trust in that, but try to, like, that's something I wish that I did, was that, like, I already don't trust doctors, like, sorry, I just don't. I already have an issue with that, and this just made it 10 times worse. But I really wish I understood the magnitude of, like, trusting myself, because I thought it meant that I had to have everything figured out, like, trusting myself in something that I've never experienced before. I'm like, how could I do that? All you need to ask yourself is, would I trust any stranger with this baby I'm about to birth? Because if the answer is no and you trust yourself the most, go with your gut instinct. Like, follow that. Um so that's like one huge thing to advocate for yourself. Also, read books. Like, people say you're not going to get stuff in a book. I get that. You're not. Your experience is going to be different, but the reading a book about childbirth and just how normal, natural the process is, slash, like, the questions to ask to advocate for yourself. Ina May's book To Childbirth is a really good book to read while you're pregnant, before you get pregnant. There are questions in there that literally are mapped out so that you can advocate for yourself, and so that you know, and so that you feel comfortable and everything aligns with however birth that you want to have. And it's just things that I didn't realize till the end of my pregnancy. Um, but then the other thing is, like, do not take advice from anybody, because, like, you're going to naturally just flow into it. Like, you are going to know your kids' cues, you're going to know your stuff. Like, there's no need to take advice, because when you start trusting everybody else more than you trust yourself, that's going to affect your parenting. That's going to affect how willing you are to speak up for your kid, at least from my experience. Um, and so I would say, just go inward with everything. And then the things that you feel like you're super uneducated about, and you're like, I really don't have an opinion on this, I kind of don't know about it, maybe seek some outside opinions, but then form your own opinion based on that. Like,
Yeah.
don't just trust what somebody says and be like, okay, that's fact. Like,
Yeah.
assess and come up with your own decisions, because I think a lot of times too, people just do what the doctors tell them, even if they're feeling some sort
Mm.
of towards it, or your
Yeah.
friends or your mom or your siblings or your friend that literally has 7 children. You're like, oh, well, she's had 7 children, let me just listen to her. No, she's had 7 children that aren't your children, so, like,
Yeah.
it's going to be completely different. So take what she
Mhm.
says and then apply it to your life. That's something
Yeah.
that is so huge, I think, because you're in such a new territory right now when you're a new mom, that, like, it can be difficult to trust yourself in a lot of different ways. And so hopefully that makes sense, but, like, that, hopefully that's some examples of, like, trust yourself because you got this kind of deal. And you know
Yeah.
best. But
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. And so now we're going to go ahead and get into some other questions that I had sent you over. What has been the grossest thing that you've seen so far, either with yourself or Cash?
Oh gosh. Actually gross.
Gross or
Like,
weird?
well, I would say, like, both of those things. The belly button ticks it for me, but also like, gross. I will never forget. There was this one night where I was changing Cash. He was like a baby, like, not even a month, I think. And it was like the poopy diapers, breastfeeding. They're like bright yellow, gross.
Gross.
And
But they
then
don't stink. They don't
They
stink.
they don't stink. But then you he was like, I put him down, changed his diaper. Immediately, as the diaper's off, he, like, poops again. But how they teach you at the hospital is to, like, have that other diaper ready underneath the dirty diaper. So it was like, okay. So I do the whole process again, poops again. I'm like, seriously? And, like, he literally pooped 4 times all at once. It was just like, just, oh my God, it was so gross. And then the last time I wasn't ready for it. It's like 2 in the morning. You're not sleeping. And then I have, like, crap all over my hands. And I'm like, Do I just leave him on the changing table? How do you pick up the baby with crap? Do I wipe myself up with wipes? Like, you're just, I don't know, man. There are some times where you're like, what the fuck do I do? This is
Yeah. I
disgusting.
I literally remember asking my sister, like, because I was going to like a bunch of medications, like my guts were all jacked up. And so like there was like plenty of times where like as soon as I'm running home, right? Like and I like throw it in park and I like run inside to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, how do I do that with a baby? Like,
No,
do I get them out
literally.
of the car? Like if you have to go, like you have to go. And so like trying to like unbuckle a baby, get them out of the car. I was like, do I leave the car running? Do I put them like in the garage real quick so at least they're locked in there? Like what do I do?
So difficult, like, so difficult, like, you football them and you're, like, peeing with, like, them footballed. I'm just like, I don't know, man, but I tend to impress myself the more that I'm in those situations, and I every time I'm serious, like, Cash is going to grow up hearing me say every time we do something weird, I'm like, "Women are incredible." Like, I say it, I'm, like, peeing, like, breastfeeding him in over the toilet, like, in the airport, and I'm like, "Women are freaking incredible." Like, I say it every
Yeah.
time because I'm like, I'm sorry, who else can do these things? Like, or who else? Because there have been times where it's like, people will be like, "Oh, I'm holding the baby, I can't do that." I'm like, "Really? I'm holding the baby, I'm holding my dignity, I'm holding my purse, I'm holding all this stuff. What do you mean?" You know what I mean? Like, you can't
Yeah.
multitask? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, there have been
Have
some
you
wild.
ever held him have you ever held him in the shower yet? Like have you ever showered
Yeah,
with him yet or have
yeah,
you
and
always just like bathed?
I've showered with him, it's so hard, he slips everywhere. I'm like, "I'm gonna drop this
He's
thing."
so slippery. Why
Yeah,
are babies so slippery in the shower? I don't
like,
understand it.
don't know, but full on panic attack. I'm, like, literally, like, squeezing the life out of him because I'm like, "Dude, if I drop you, I don't know what's worse. I don't know what's worse because 'cause you're literally about to
Yeah.
slip." It's like if you've ever put soap on Play-Doh. That's how I
I've
can't.
never put soap on Play-Doh. Oh my
My
god, I have
little
to do
sister
this now.
my little sister used to put liquid soap on Play-Doh all the time. That slip how it just slips. Oh my god, that's immediately what I thought of. Childhood memory, because 'cause I'm sure nobody does that, but yeah, that's
Oh my
how I
god.
explain
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. But 100%, like I don't understand. Like, how do they get so slippery in the shower?
it.
Um, okay, so let's see. Um, what is the most? Because I saw your stories. You just recently did this. What's the most important item you think women should add to their baby registry?
Ooh, I would say the Bjorn bouncer was, like, the one thing that I needed for so long. I would say that, like, just putting him in that everywhere, traveling with him. I would literally throw that thing in my car, and then anywhere I was gonna go, I would just sit him in it. Like, it was just the most easy thing if you don't want him on you all the time. Um, that was one thing. Um, I don't know what else because it just depends on how you plan on doing things. For me, excessively breastfeeding, I did not need all the bottles. I did not need so many things. Like, there were so many things that people were like, get this, get that. And then everything on my registry, I feel like I didn't use for the most part. Um,
Yeah, I definitely that's a good way of putting it. It all depends on how you want to parent, right? Because
yeah,
and you just don't know until you're in it. Like for us, like Lil never used a rocking chair. Chuck, we used the rocking chair so much.
yeah,
Lil never used her changing table. Because I mean, let's be honest, like you're not gonna walk like upstairs to go to her changing table when you are downstairs on the couch. Like it's just not gonna happen. And
yeah.
so that we never used.
I
The
think that that's
bottle warmer
important
never
too.
used.
Like, that's important to, like, notice exactly what you said. Like, if you have a two-story house, things are on different floors, things are you are not going to do that. Like, you are not. And so, what is the simplest way to do things? And, like, if you are exclusively breastfeeding, like, they just need you and diapers and wipes for a lot of it. You're gonna give them all these things, and they're just not going to use them. So, like, I would say the things that you can put them in that they like I had a swing, he swang in that thing for probably a month and that was it. Um, and the bouncer was
Lil
just all I
lived in
needed.
hers.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you
Lil
just
lived in
don't
her
know.
swing. Chuck lived in a bouncer, like completely opposite babies. And another thing that I will say too is that like don't invest in like an 86 pack of bottles because what if they don't like that fucking bottle? You know?
No, no,
Like
and
literally get like a
pacifier.
2 pack because pacifiers like
Yep.
it's 100% up to them and there's so many different options you just don't know.
And I think that that's like the thing is like in today's it's a very consumer society. You're going to see so many moms recommend so many different things. Don't commit to one thing that one mom says is good. Like definitely dabble in some things. Diapers, wipes, like it just all depends. I don't know. There was just so much where I'm like, why do people even I get why people do baby showers, but it's like why do you even cuz you waste this stuff. I feel like I don't know, doing it's just difficult. I'm like I would much rather would like to buy the things that I need and then return them, or I guess that like at a baby shower return the things that you don't use, like see what's up, because I just felt bad. I'm like there's so many things that people got me that I didn't even get to use, um and it's just like they wasted their money, and if only like they could have returned them, I could have returned them and used something else. I don't know, I just feel like it's hard. There's no
Yeah.
manual to the baby. You never know what they're gonna like. They're gonna come out and they're gonna have their own agenda, so you just adjust.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, 3 more questions. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day now?
Now, like literally 2 times a day, but it's double shots of espresso. We're on the wave of the quad, but
There
I
we
still,
go.
yeah, like we need the coffee at all times.
100%. Mine's usually coffee in the morning and then like a matcha or like a chai in the afternoon. And not because like I don't need the energy or that like coffee affects me weird because it doesn't. Like I can have a coffee at like 8 p.m. Um, but I don't know. It's just that's what I do.
I need
Uh,
the like straight espresso
how
with some
has
cream. Love it.
yeah. How has your relationship with your spouse been and has it changed?
Okay, I was waiting for you to ask this one because I think this one is like probably the best. Yes, it's changed. With your spouse, it depends. I think so many things go into it. Your birth experience, for one. It terrified me, but it also terrified him. Um, we both like just trying to get through that. Like we had never been closer. The first month of having Cash, we had never been closer because it's just not something normal. And Jordan actually like the doctor made him stand up and he saw me cut open, um and it was just that's his own thing that he like experienced, but there's just not trauma there that we but it's just something we went through together that was just like holy shit. Like having a c-section, you can't pick up your baby when they're crying, so Jordan had to wake up every sound and pick him up and hand him to me, and it was just something that we were just so in the thick of it together where no one else could understand that we were just like so close in that first month and a half. Then, you start feeling better, the baby's starting to grow, and things got a little bit of difficult in that like 2 3 4 month part, because how our dynamic is he owns his own business, that is the primary income of our household, and then we work on a business together, which is my primary income, and then I have my own network marketing business, and so those three things is how we prepare for our house, but his is the main priority, right? And then so my roles are more flexible where I took on that stay at home mom, and so it was very difficult watching him be able to go and just do what he needs to do or what he wants to do day to day. Being able to just run out of the house and run to the store without packing up a whole house. Because when they're really little, it's so hard, and exclusively breastfeeding is so difficult, and the diaper changes in the car and the breastfeeding all the time. It's just like really difficult. So there was like moments where you have to check yourself, because if you don't, that resentment will set in real quick, where it's like you're watching your partner be able to do everything that you could do before you had a baby, and now you can't do it but they still can, and that's not right or wrong, it's just hard. It's just hard. It just is what it is. So there was a moment there where we had to communicate through that because I was like, look, like this is difficult and this is where it's coming from. Like I'm always self-analyzing, so I can do a pretty good job communicating but there are some times where, you give a little attitude. But we just communicate so much. And then now, like, I think it's just crazy. We're at a good place now because we got through that piece, we communicated through all of that, and then now it's just like Cash is the center of our world. And it's like when I was pregnant, he kind of was, but he wasn't because he's not there yet. But now it's like that tag team parenting, and then just like everything we want to do because we want to do it for him. It's just super cool. But our relationship dynamic has completely changed because I do think, like, sometimes in a relationship, the way you make money is seen as like the most important role, right? But now, like, I'm also raising our future generation. So we have equal important roles in a way. It's just different. Um, but like to get us both to see that for a bit, it just took a moment. Like it took a bit. And I'm sure we're gonna have so many more, conversations, arguments, things, but like the relationship with your spouse changes drastically. I mean, they come not last, but they're gonna come after your baby. So like making that time for each other. Sleeping situations are always difficult too because it's like, are you going to always bring the kid in the bed with you? Are they going to stay up later and you go to bed earlier because you're not sleeping? Like, there's just a lot of things that you just have to communicate, I would say, to get on the same page. 'Cause it's hard. I think navigating your spouse is hard because you already feel like you're navigating yourself, your baby, and now you have to navigate your spouse too. It's like, oof, you're exhausted,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, for sure, 100% because it's like you said, like and like how we said in the beginning is like we all have these new identities and because same situation, like Rob is gone all the time, right? So it's like okay, well, he doesn't know what I've been through that day. So, like, when
Yeah,
he gets home, if I don't communicate, like, how my day went or how I'm feeling or anything like that, like, he has no idea. So, then, of course, he doesn't know how to help. Right. And
yeah,
so, I feel like if you, and I feel like they're also like not gonna ask the questions. Like that's just like a guy.
mm.
It's like they come home, they decompress, and like that's it. Whereas like for us, it's like if we don't tell them, then they're just gonna think we had like a fine day. Like we stayed
Yeah,
home with the baby, like everything is good. Like we're both alive by the time they get home, right? Like
yeah,
that's kind of like all that matters, right? And so if you don't have that open communication, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, this is where I need your help, especially, right? Like you need to be
yeah,
like, I need help doing XYZ. They're not
mm,
going to be like, how can I help? Like it's just not going to happen. And so
yeah,
you have to be able to communicate with tact because also they're men, right? So you can't like just come at them screaming because that's just not how they're
it
going to
doesn't
react
work.
well to it. And so you need to be calm, you need to be able to communicate, you need to be able to navigate yourself, your baby, and your spouse's emotions basically.
Yeah, and I do think too, when you let go and you let them help, you gotta let them help. Because for a mom, you
And
wanna
they're going to do it in their own way.
Yes, you're gonna wanna control it and be like, "No, he likes it this way. No, you wanna do that." Nope, you gotta walk away. Like, that was one thing I learned from you, actually, was that you
Mhm.
were just like, "You gotta let them do it the way that they need to do it, and it's gonna be different, and it may be chaotic." And so, like, I literally walk away when I'm like, "Okay, I don't wanna be, like, nagging, on the side," like, and plus he needs to figure it out, and plus Cash might like it that way, you know? So,
Yeah.
like, it just you gotta kinda let go of that control, which is very, very hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes when the baby's crying, like, you wanna just intervene, but no, they gotta figure it out. Like, they gotta
Mhm.
figure it out because they will figure it out, and then it'll be its own
Yeah.
thing. Like, now Cash knows the difference. Like, certain things he does with dad a certain way, certain things he does with me a certain way. Like, they start to understand once they're, like,
100%.
not just a little bean, but, like, they start to get it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
like, they know they can roughhouse with dad, like,
yes.
you're going through that right now where, like,
Yeah,
Jordan's throwing him in the air, like, they
he
know
knows.
that, like yeah, like, Chuck tries to jump on my back and, like, put me in a chokehold, and I'm like, "Get off! Like, you do
Yeah,
that to dad, like, you don't punch mom." But then they
totally
also know,
different.
like, how he used to crawl up in my lap, and he still does, crawls up in my lap on, like, a call,
Yep.
and he knows he can snuggle me with, like, a blanket and, like, go to sleep, whereas, like, Rob, no, he's gonna, like, beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So, like, they start to, like, catch on.
No, definitely, because immediately when Cash sits on Jordan's lap, he, like, does, like, horsey and he starts jumping, like, he's like, "Yes, we're about to
Like,
party, like, we're about to
yeah.
rage," and then with me, it's like, I just wanna eat, like, he just wants to breastfeed, or
Yeah.
he wants to snuggle, or
Yeah.
it's not the same, like, they gauge that, so you gotta, like, allow the space for that, but yeah, like, spouse and having a baby, oof, man. It's a challenge, but just both of you commit to it. Commit to the challenge because you'll figure it out and then it'll
Yeah.
change again.
Well, and then so while we're still on this topic, before I ask you your last question, one thing that I will say too is that, like, if you want your spouse to be hands on, you need to tell them and you need to, like, almost make them, because, like, naturally, I feel like, especially if they weren't, like, around a lot of kids growing up, they're going to be like, I can't do this. Right. But, like, you kind of have to guide them and be like, hey, can you help me with this? Or can you, like, give them, like,
Yeah,
duties to figure out and do, because if not, they're not going to change a diaper, especially if you're, like, exclusively
yeah,
breastfeeding. They're definitely ain't going to feed them, like, you
yep,
need to give them responsibilities, or else, like, they're going to be a very, like, hands off dad, and you're going to enable them to be that way. So that would be, like, my biggest advice,
yeah,
especially when it comes to, like, new parenting, is that, like, yeah, you have to let them figure it out on their own, especially if you want help, if you want them to be, like, that hands-on dad. So,
yeah. No, literally. I'm just so grateful for him too because our
okay.
situation of having him, like, just it just was, yeah, like, I don't know. Go ahead, go for it.
Yeah, no, Rob literally, so real quick, Rob literally, after both of my births, he was like, "That was so scary and, like, the
Yeah,
wildest thing I've ever saw." He was like, "I'm honestly surprised, like, you women don't die." And I'm
yeah.
like, "What? And you want me to go through this again?" Like, what?
No, literally. He's like,
Like, what?
it's just the thrill, Brandy.
Yeah, they're
He's
like, "This
the
is the Yeah, he's like, "I love that you come so close to dying."
thrill.
Um, okay. So last question. What has been your proudest moment as a mother thus far?
Yeah. Okay, so honestly, just like getting through everything and not taking it out on cash. Because there's something that I've kept in my mind, even in my lowest of lows, where I'm like, I don't, you know, that quote where it's like, if it's raining, like protect your kids from the storm kind of thing. Like that has been my biggest goal is that when I'm like, because I've had some really dark moments in the past, like 6 or 7 months, but I never want him to feel it. Granted, he's a little baby, but they can get energy. You know, they can get scared if they don't feel safe with you. Um, and so just like not letting him feel it. And just like I could be crying in the club for hours, and he wakes up from a nap time, and I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited you're up. I'm so excited. Like, I kids give you a level of resiliency that you just didn't think was possible because before, if I was having a bad day, if I went to work, if I went anywhere, everybody would know because it's on my face. Like, I wear my emotions on my face. You know, would it's just like it's just would be showcased that I am not happy, that I'm something's wrong and whatever. But when it comes to him, I just will not go there because I don't want him to see it. I want him to always think that his presence is like the highlight of my day because it is. And so like being able to overcome that with myself, one of my proudest moments for me, proudest moments for him though is just like I don't know. I just love like watching him do everything. Like he's becoming more and more independent and encouraging that and just like I'm just so proud of him for freaking pooping one day. You know what I mean? The shit that you're proud of your kids for when they're babies is just embarrassing, but it's also like, I don't know, like, I'm just like, "Wow, I can't believe you were this little bean that couldn't even do anything, and now you're pulling yourself up out of, like, his little mobile ball pit we made him, and, like, he's just doing all these crazy things." I'm like, "Wow, I'm just so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for doing that,"
Yeah,
you
they
know?
go through so many steps at this age, you know, so many milestones, like from the first, like the facial expressions to like the first
Yeah,
laugh to, you know, like now he's about to
they're
be mobile. Like
yeah, he's
it's going to
there,
be
like,
wild.
it's so wild, but I definitely think, like, proudest moment for sure is just, like, getting over my own shit so that my kid's not fucking dealing with it. Like, and it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. Like, I grew up in a house where if, people were tense, you felt it. And that's fine. Like, it's fine, but I wanted to do things different. So that's I'm happy I'm sticking to that. So it's one of my proudest things for now. Ask me again in 6 months. We'll see if I lose my shit. Just kidding.
Yeah. No, but literally, like as you're saying that, I'm like, damn, like because I am all the above. My emotions are on my face. Like if I'm pissed, you 100% know it because I'm probably like running off at the mouth, like, you
Yeah,
know, and like get those traits from my mom, right? And so like now as a parent to a 7 and a 4-year old, I am trying so hard not to freak out on him, but oh my, and I
it's
say him because
hard.
it's my 4-year-old majority of the time, right? Like he like I think like I picked him up from school yesterday. 9 minutes after picking him up on the car ride home, I'm like already screaming at him. I'm like, because he's throwing a fit. And I'm like, like you see all these things, especially on social media,
Mm,
that it's like your kids act and like react to things the way you act and react to things. And it's so hard to not pop off. But I'm just like, I'm trying and I at least I like recognize that, right? But it's so fucking hard. But like I
That's
said, we're
why
just out here.
that's why I said ask me again in 6 months. Cash isn't in the tantrums yet. So ask me again in 6 months if this is my proudest moment, okay? Because I might lose it. I know that kid tantrums are going to be the test. That's the test. Um and we
Yeah.
just do what we can,
And it
bro.
was over
Like,
Chick-fil-A.
dang.
Like
It just makes
it was
all of
over
us
Chick-fil-A.
excited.
Like I'm like, I get it, you just want some nugs, but like that's not how we ask people. And so like it's just I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. Wait till you have to carry a kid out of the store like a surfboard. Like,
Yeah,
whew,
that's what that's gonna be the test, because then all of this might go out the window. My goal of trying to be cool, calm, and collected, screw it. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't know. I said that on my
yeah,
stories the other day. Like, you don't know. You have all these ideas of parenthood, and then you are just like tested to your limits, and that's where the truth will come out of like, okay, you know what? Sure, you can watch a little TV. Sure, we're gonna just do this today. Like, things change, man. So right now, though, that's
100%. And I think they change daily. Like one day we're
yeah,
like cool and we like yeah we got our shit together, like nobody freaked out on each other, and then like next day it's literally like a fucking tornadoes in the house. Like it's wild. But you know, I appreciate you sharing. I mean, this is kind of like you're gonna have this forever. This is like your birth story.
I know.
Um,
I'm really
and
excited to like have this to look back on too.
yeah, yeah, oh my god, yeah, especially like the years to come. You're gonna be like, wait, how was that? But
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know this is like your day where you're like, this is the time that you have to yourself. So I appreciate you spending a little bit of it with me. Um, if people want to go ahead and find you or follow you, where can they do so?
It's Nicole Bowley. So it's at Nicole Nicole Bowley Bowley because Nicole Bowley was taken. So it's an extra Y on there on Instagram, but I'm always on Instagram. I'm always on my stories, so that's where you would find me.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will chat soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, mamas, that's what I have for you on today's episode. If you've liked what you've heard, please tag me on your Instagram stories at Brandy Ververs. That way we can continue to grow and empower more mamas to live their best life. See you next time.